I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk about how you can use coordinated pairs to create an echo effect, which is a great stylistic technique to use. So, if you look at this example here, I've got this example from one of Obama's speeches. If you just kind of listen to it, you'll hear some of what we're talking about. What would be needed were Americans in successive generations who were willing to do their part through protests and struggles on the streets and in the courts, through a civil war and civil disobedience, and always at great risk, to narrow that gap between the promise of our ideals and the reality of their time. If you notice, that sentence seems a lot longer, but there's really only four units to that series. There's through protests and struggles, on the streets and the courts, through civil war and civil disobedience, always at great risk. But the effect is amplified by using these coordinated pairs. And so, what we do is when we take a series of things, we can add coordinated pairs, combining them with our coordinating conjunctions for and nor, but, or, yet, so. And so, what we can do is take something like maybe it was originally through protests on the streets, through civil war, always at great risk. And then we pair them with things that help echo the idea. So protests is echoed by struggle. On the streets is echoed by in the courts. Civil war is echoed by civil disobedience. And what you'll notice is that creates some contrast. So on the streets, in the courts, two very different ideas, very contrasting ideas, but they pair well together and they kind of echo each other in the sense of what he's trying to say, in the sense of people doing their part. So, as you're writing, this is a good revision to look at. Is maybe how you can add some of those pairs, some of those coordinated pairs together. Um, what they can do, I mentioned they echo each other to kind of amplify the message of the sentence. You can use these to highlight contrasts between concepts and really kind of point out and emphasize the difference between them. But using them stylistically creates a sense of balance and a sense of kind of a rhythm to it, which just sounds really good when you read it out loud. And also, it can serve to enrich a sentence's meaning. So instead of just having that kind of normal meaning in that original sentence, by adding those echoing pairs, he has actually enriched it beyond that original meaning to give it a lot more depth to it. So, as you're writing, and particularly as you're reading through and revising stuff, look for places where you have maybe a series of ideas and see if you can use some of these coordinating, echoing pairs.